really what I see is whip effect. Okay? And so when you're talking about whip effect, you're talking about, when you go to crack a whip, you don't whip it around your head like this. There's got to be a deceleration to make that transfer, right? So my arm is going to decelerate to crack a whip. The reason I want to get into that about over-rotating and the rotational obsession, if I'm going to take water here, I'm going to throw it in Danny's face, okay? If I've got a bucket full of water, I'm going to throw it in his face. If I do that, where's the water? Water's going back behind me, okay? I never did transfer. So in order to get the water out of the bucket, to get it into Danny's face, I'm going to get here and I've got to brace. There's a bracing effect that occurs that then transfers from my body to the bucket, and then the bucket braces and the water is ejected from the bucket. Okay? That, when you're talking about what I teach and what you see biomechanists talk about in golf and in other sports, but you don't hear much in baseball, you've got to put your head around and dive into this cracking of the whip idea that we're not trying, our goal isn't to rotate. Our goal is to deliver energy to the bat head to deliver to the ball. The goal isn't rotation. But just like the water out of the bucket example, what happens is my legs create a forward momentum, transferred from the front leg, and it works its way up. But as I get here, the body braces and we let the hands and bat go. So if you think about the water out of the bucket example, the hands and the bat. The hands and the bat are the water. You see? The body braces and the hands and bat are ejected. Okay, so in other words, we don't try to get through the ball like this. You don't want to see everything spinning through. That doesn't look good. Everybody knows that doesn't look good. But yet everything everybody talks about is hips, spin your foot, that sort of thing. Okay? So that's a big part of buying into really the natural move, the natural swing, the way it happens in all other sports. Name an activity, name another sport where your goal is to do this with your back foot. Everybody's doing this in baseball. Everybody's doing this. Name another sport where you do that. Tennis, we're here. Golf, we're here. Shot put, we're here. Throwing, we're here. They're all the same. But in batting, last 12 years, right? So you've got to get away from this idea where rotation happens in the swing. There's no question. Okay? There's no question that rotation happens, but it happens as part of a straight line move with this back leg, a lateral driving event. When I go to throw, I drive energy in a straight line at my target. Okay? I'm not, if I go to throw and I'm trying to spin my leg to rotate, what would that do with not only the force my leg creates, but the direction of the force? It's going to compromise this, and it's going to take my energy in the wrong direction. Instead, as I throw, I drive hard in a straight line, boom. Then the hips rotate as a result of that straight line move. So I rotate much faster when I throw without trying to rotate. Okay? So this is a big concept, this water out of the bucket, this idea that we're decelerating and transferring, that we're working in straight lines. Okay? There is rotation that happens. The hips do rotate. The hips begin to rotate. That pulls the upper torso. Okay? Hip rotation pulls the upper torso. So rotation happens. But I'm not trying to spin. Okay? So we work in straight lines. This leg blocks. This leg then fires the hips open from the front. We hit leverage behind that, but we're trying to feel ourselves. That's why you hear pro hitters talk a lot about hands. They might not be able to describe what they're talking about a lot, but they talk a lot about hands. The reason they talk a lot about hands is because that's all they feel moving through contact with the ball. Because everything else, by that point, after all these movements, at the moment of truth, the only thing finishing is that contact, finish right through there. Everything else has funneled to the hands.